For more insights into this, let's cross live to Professor John Gong in Beijing. So, Professor, let's talk about the global significance or global implication of China's massive poverty alleviation drive. Now, the country has announced that it has eliminated absolute poverty. How difficult is this to reach that task?
Well, it's a very tall order. We're talking about, hundreds of millions of poverty. We Chinese has a population that is 1/4 to 1/5 of the entire global population. But if you look at the number of people who lifted out of poverty over the years in the past, 70% of them actually coming from China. That's in itself is a huge contribution to the cause of global poverty alleviation. And I think in addition to this, the implication for the global, from a global perspective, is that China's economic development also creates a lot of opportunities for people outside of China, especially riding off the e-commerce development. Chinese consumers are buying things from very remote places in different continents that could not have been even possible several decades ago. And these opportunities, these purchasing behaviors, orders create opportunities for people living in these continents and countries, and also contribute to poverty alleviation in these countries as well. I give you one example. For example, Chinese people are buying a lot of coffee from Rwanda. Now, how can you imagine that China can help with people in Rwanda working on these coffee fields? Well, it's happening right now. So I think from that perspective, it's a huge success. As President Xi said, it's a human miracle, not just in China, but also for many other countries in the world.
So let's talk about the world's efforts on poverty alleviation. Earlier you mentioned the China experience. How much of it can be applied or can be learned from other countries? Of course, you cannot simply just replicate the whole effort to somewhere else in the world.
Well, there are many things that can be learned from China's experience, but I think I will just mention a couple of them due to the time limit. First of all, I think at a very fundamental level, poverty alleviation needs to be riding on the back of economic development. This is really fundamental. I mean, without China's economic achievement over the last 4 decades, there will be no poverty alleviation at all. So I think for any government devoted to that cause, it has to be laser focused on economic development. And second, I think we have to be very clear that this is going to be a government-steered, government-led effort. This cannot be done just by leaving it to the market. For example, these people that are impoverished usually live in clusters in remote areas, in mountainous areas, on the border regions, and they need to be provided with a decent infrastructure in terms of road access, telecom access, electricity, and all these things would have to be done or at least coordinated by the government. Without the government, these other areas would be left behind by the market. And in addition to this, the government has to be taking in case of China, a whole of a nation approach to this, mobilizing all societal resources, organizing societal resources to help people. So I think, in a nutshell, I would mention 2 things. One is economic development. Second, the role of the government. They are indispensable.